fractions? Not fractions. Ah, you got to do it. You got to be able to do fractions. So here's a homework help video for foundational skills homework number 4. This foundational skills homework is all about fractions. Adding fractions, subtracting fractions, multiplying fractions, and dividing fractions. Let's jump into it. So whenever we're adding fractions or subtracting fractions, whenever we're adding fractions, you have to make sure you have common denominators. So the denominators right now are 10 and 5. So right now, our fractions are in different pieces, different sized pieces. So you can't add them together yet. So what we're going to need to do here is we're going to need to get a common denominator. And I know that I can change 5 into 10. The way I do that is I multiply by 2. I need to multiply by 2. Now in order to not change the value of the fraction, you have to also multiply the top number by 2. Because whenever you multiply something by a value of 1, it doesn't change that value. So that gives us 6 out of 10. So in other words, 6 out of 10 is the same as 3 out of 5. This stays the same because it's already out of 10, and then I'm adding. Now, write this down somewhere. For fractions, you can only add the top number. The reason is because both of these fractions are in tenths. They're in pieces of tenths. So I'm taking a whole, like a pizza pie or a pie or anything that's a whole, and I'm cutting that into tenths. Here I have 3 of the tenths, here I have 6 of the tenths. When I add those together, that makes 9 tenths. Okay, you can't put 9 over 20 because your pieces are not in 20s, they're in tenths. Okay. Enough talking, let's do some problems. Whenever you're subtracting fractions, so here you have 3 over 5 minus 1/3. The process is the same. We're going to try and find a common denominator between 5 and 3. Now, comparing this to the last one, I know I can't make 3 into 5. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to change both of those numbers. Once you keep doing these questions, you're going to get better and better at it, but here I'm going to get 15 as my common denominator. Okay? Which means I need to multiply this by 3 over 3, because 3 times 5 is 15. 3 times 3 here would be 9. And here I got to multiply by 5 over 5. 5 times 1 is 5. Now, you can only subtract or add the top numbers. So this would be 4/15. Right? So what we're going to do now is I'm going to have to give you a little bit of a chance to understand this a little better. The big thing about this is getting a common denominator. So here, I want you to look at this question and ask yourself, okay, what would be the common denominator? Okay, I'll say CD for common denominator. Here the common denominator would be 10. Okay? Here, on number 5, the common denominator would equal, pause the video, see if you can figure it out in your brain. So think, the common denominator would be 14, right? So I'd have 1/2 minus 3/7. I could do 7/14 minus 6/14. That gives me 1/14. So you could start doing these questions pretty fast. I know they're hard, but once you actually understand the process, you just have to find a common denominator and then add or subtract the top number. Okay, last one, I just want to talk about this question. If you have some bigger numbers on the bottom, okay, one trick that you can do is you can multiply this 12. You could multiply this 12 by 9. So we could do 9 over 9. And then we could take this 9 and multiply that by 12. This is a math trick. I don't know what it's called. But essentially what you're doing is you're multiplying the bottom numbers together to get a common denominator, right? even though this might not be the best common denominator, it will always get you a common denominator in the end. I'll show you right now 9 times 12 would be 108. Because multiplication is commutative, 9 times 12, 108. We're adding. 9 times 5 is 45. 5 times 12 is 60. So this gets us 105 out of 108. Okay? Now, if you put that into Alex, you'll actually be wrong. The reason is because it's not simplified. So we actually have to be able to simplify this fraction by dividing by 3. Okay? That would get us 35 over 36. Okay, and that's our answer. You have to simplify on Alex, okay? If ever you get an answer when you're adding or subtracting fractions that you can simplify, it means you didn't find the greatest common factor between the two numbers. So, in other words, or the least common multiple, I apologize. Didn't find the least common multiple. So, there's a number that's better than 108 that you could have used for your common denominator. Okay? That number would be 36. 36. Okay. Let's see how much time we have here. Okay, I still got like 2 more minutes on this video. So let's scroll through these a little bit, start talking about some common denominators. So here, think in your brain, what would be the common denominator? Okay. Did you get it? Pause the video. Try to get the common denominator. It would be 28. Common denominator would be 28. Okay, let's go to number 8. Right here, common denominator. Pause the video. Come on, you gotta be thinking. You gotta be thinking. Common denominator, 54. Okay, this one, think. Pause. 36. Right? Now, let's talk real quickly and see if we can find some questions that are adding negatives. Here we go. Now we're talking. Okay. So if you have a negative fraction and you're subtracting a fraction off of that, okay, here the common denominator would be 15. Okay, notice how I'm only changing the red. The top numbers, this would give you 10. This would get you 9. And right here, you have to be able to see this as losses, okay, because it's negative. And then when you subtract, that's also losses. Okay, you have to go back to understand what I'm talking about here. If you're in my class, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But if you go back to my adding and subtracting positives and negatives video, you know that whenever I have something that's negative, like a negative term, that's like losing value, right? So these are losses and losses. So together, we're actually adding those numbers together to get 19 over 15. But they're losses because they're negative. Okay? All right. That's going to be this for this video. If you need help with any other kinds of questions, just email me. Okay, come at intervention at any time. Come after school if you want. You can ask me during class. But good luck, you guys. In the next video, we're going to talk about multiplying and dividing fractions.